Hello and welcome back to HyzerMedia's coverage of the final round of the 21st Great Eastern Amateur Cup from Tyler State Park. This tournament is brought to you by Bucks County Disc Golf Alliance and BS Upshot Tournament and Shop. Thank you to our Patreon family. If you'd like to join our family, you can do so for as little as $2. I'm Dave Oster, here to bring you the conclusion of this tournament. Rain is picking up, so we'll see how these players are able to finish out. Battle for first between a couple of guys on this card and some others. So we'll see what they can do, starting off in hole 28. Par 5, 595 feet. Not the longest of par 5s, but certainly need to hit your lines and some out of bounds as we get closer to the basket. Starting off this back nine will be Joe Johnston, who just got the birdie on the last hole. Birdies are few and far between here on this course and the conditions today, so a birdie will certainly get you to the top of the card. Catches an early tree. He'll be in the left side rough, but the out of bounds on the left side doesn't start for most of the way down the fairway. The lefty on the card, Ben Wyckoff, is currently our leader. Gets most of the way down. Actually, a fortunate tree kick to get back into the middle of the fairway. Bo Lee came in with a one-stroke lead, and after an unfortunate triple bogey, is now 2 strokes back, but playing pretty well. Gets a little bit right side, might be able to lean out and get something to continue moving forward. And last to start the card, oh, Nick Caputo going down hard. I think he's okay. He got up. And his shot is a little bit left side, kind of still went forward. Fortunate to stay fairly into the fairway. Hopefully that's not going to affect his play the rest of the round. It obviously is slippery conditions here. Tee pads, regardless of how good they are, and they have pretty good tee pads here at Tyler. Just tough to continue to stay fully grippy in hurricane kind of weather. So Bogan with the patent pending turnover, doesn't quite turn it enough, but double tree kick will keep him in the fairway, maybe still in position for birdie. And Ben, after a pretty good first shot, throwing the forehand flex. Oh, and it skips out of bounds. He's almost up on the green in 2 strokes on this par 5, but with the out-of-bounds stroke, maybe still birdie if he's able to make it from there, but just a few feet shorter would have been an easy up and down for his first birdie, at least of this back nine, maybe of the round. Don't want to overlook that great shot by Joe from a little bit out of position for his third shot to get up close to the green. This is Bo's third shot, going high and wide, getting through the trees and landing almost onto the basket. Great shot, maybe a little bit of luck, but nonetheless, he'll be, I guess, that'll be parked for his birdie. Ben may be giving that a bit of a run. Wouldn't blame him at all for wanting to try to still score after pretty much playing all the way down this par 5 in 2 shots. Joe also giving a bit of a run with that one little tree just leaning out. And Nick also giving that a run. There is some out of bounds that left side, a little bit behind the basket, so fortunately he didn't skip too far. And good par save after going out of bounds. Really had 2 great shots other than just a couple feet. Nick also playing the hole pretty well. Didn't really get into trouble much, but got up there in 4 shots and makes his par putt. Joe had that one great shot, I believe it was his third shot, to really make up for some of the ground he lost. And the birdie tap in pretty much for Bo. bringing him back to within 1 stroke of the lead as we move over to hole 29, par 4, 574 feet. Pin is in the long C position, all the way up the hill. Pretty much trying to get to the corner on your first shot, and then land in his place where you have the green light go to go up the hill. That is just a little bit short. Be able to pitch around the corner, but probably not all the way up to the green. Little low. And grass is pretty thick, although wet, so not the biggest skips, but can slip up a little bit more because of the moisture on the ground. That is turned over a bit for Ben, but not too far, thanks to the spotter. That looks a little bit inside as well for Nick, but pretty far up there, probably somewhere near Bo. Looks like he's going to go through the woods. Oh, straight out and kind of to the back edge of the corner. He's in line with kind of the second part of the fairway, but he's going to have a long approach from there. Bo out in the open, able to get around the corner. Pushes it a bit too far, but catches that tree. He'll have maybe 200 feet in from there. Ben doesn't look like he has a very clean look, but maybe just through those trees and around the corner. So, not bad. He'll have a pretty good approach from there. And Joe, low shot, but all the way up as the farthest one for this card. And gets almost all the way up to the green. So from not quite in great position, throws a great second shot. And he'll have a circle's edge look for the birdie. Nick to the side of the green, maybe a little bit further than Joe. Also maybe have a long look to save his par. Bo goes past the basket, but maybe 15 to 18 feet. And Ben actually pretty close. Closer than it looked after his second shot. Should have a pretty easy... Yeah, didn't roll too far. Does get pretty steep once you get close, but pretty easy up and down for his par as well. A little bit obstructed. Nick couldn't quite run that. And Joe just a bit high and left for his birdie. And nice par for Bo. This hole was playing as the second hardest at 3/4 of a stroke over par, and not a single person in the field birdied it. So, definitely difficult pin position for this hole, along with already being a pretty difficult tee shot once you get 3/4 of the way down the first part of the fairway. But these guys playing it fairly well, about the average, so makes sense as we move over to a much easier hole. In fact, the easiest hole on the course score-wise. Hole 30, par 4, 345 feet. You really can't do too much to a hole to make a par 4 under 350 feet that hard, but they sure tried here. Uphill, backhand turnover shot. Got to miss that grouping of trees, but then not turn it over too much so you don't go into the rough on the right side. That is also a common result, having it just kind of fade out at the top of the hill, but probably less than 200 feet in from there. And this is looking pretty perfect from Joe. That's exactly what you need to do. Don't even really need that much distance, but that'll obviously help. Just a little bit behind that tree. Should have a lean out forehand or a patent pending backhand to get up to the green. And very fortunate to get through all that for Ben. he will still be able to have an opportunity to get up and down from there. And lucky to hit the right side of that tree instead of the left. And again, even from here, maybe 250 in, not the easiest shot, but definitely more doable than on most holes. And great approach shot. He'll be able to get up and down pretty easily from there. And Bo probably closer to 175 to 150 in. And that's a putt for birdie right there. So Joe, with the best tee shot, has a pretty easy forehand turnover if he can get it around that tree. And it looks like he does. Rolls up to about 20 feet. So the difficulty of this hole, obviously, is there's not a lot of clean lines, but short enough that these players are able to make it work. Everybody's getting pretty close on the greens. Now we got a couple putts for birdie. Just a bit low for Bo, hitting the pole. It's dead on. Just need to get the height right. So it is slightly uphill. Another birdie putt coming for Joe. Oh, also low. So now all four of these guys are beginning their par. So, like I said at the beginning of this hole, was the easiest, playing about 0.2 strokes under par. So, that being the easiest hole on the day definitely shows you something. These guys almost scored that with a couple birdie putts, but no harm, no foul, all pars as we move over to hole 31, par 4, 500 feet, a little bit more distance on this par 4, and uphill most of the way. There is a fairly wide fairway, but thick rough on both sides if you wind up in it. So, and this looks beautiful from Bo. Gets all the way up, past the landing zone, past Catch Cam Wendy, and even on the left side where you want to be for your second shot. And Joe looked like he was trying to get that to turn over, and it did a bit, but it came out early. So he's going to be in that thick rough on the left side. Ben looks like he's going either fairway or distance. Wanted that to flip up again a little bit more and just fading out. Got a good release angle. Went straight, but then just went up into the right side rough. And pretty much the same thing for Nick. A little bit left side. Maybe wanted it to flip. And you see, once you're in there, not much. Going one side to the other, but just barely on the edge. Having to go up and over. Joe also looking to go up with the forehand. And kicks something. There is a road OB out over there. And he did wind up going out of bounds. So, unfortunate over there for Joe. Ben also just pitching out. This will be the second pitch out for Nick. Much better result out into the open. And finally up the Bo's drive, and being able to see the basket in your second shot on this hole is pretty good. And he is able to get himself onto the green for another birdie look, 2 in a row. Obviously not the most common thing to happen out here. And that would be Joe's pitch out from out of bounds. Not easy. That was not only thick, but very far from the fairway all the way to that road he had to pitch out to. And luckily able to get close enough that he'll have a look to save his bogey, I believe. And just over by Bo for Ben. And giving it a bid. Comes up just a bit short. And nice birdie for Bo. Few and far between, but that will bring him back into a tie with Ben for the moment, depending on the results of this putt. And does make it, stays tied at 7 with only a few holes to go. Joe, just a bit right side. You can see the wind. Looks like it would have pushed it in that right side, but with the rain starting to come down, chains may be a little bit slippery. So, unfortunate triple for Joe. But we'll move over to hole 32, par 3, 319 feet, basket in an evil position, mere inches from this large guardian tree. You really do have to get within a few feet of that tree or past it to even have any possible look at this basket. And left side, little skip. It'll have a long run at it. Be able to look at it, but probably outside of the circle. Downhill, a little bit right to left, curving, pretty much all the way down to the green. Big high stall. And just past that tree, so he may have a little bit of a lean out putt that actually will work out for Ben being the lefty there. And a little bit lower, looks like it'll push straighter for Nick. And a little bit more stable, so it goes out to about the same. He's going to have to putt a little bit of turnover. And a bit wider for Joe. Looks like maybe what you're more looking for gets between those two trees. And he'll have the best look out of the group. But all these guys really are going to have long looks at it. And not the rollaway that wanted after. Not the worst look. Really had to push that. Oh, and Bo almost ringing it up again for 2 birdies in a row. And there's that turnover putt. Really, like I said, if you don't get past it, it's going to be a difficult angle to get in. Basket almost touching. And another great putt for Joe. Way to bounce back after the last hole with a birdie. Obviously, quite a few strokes out of contention, but certainly can still try to finish his round strong, and he's starting that off from this point pretty well. So Ben missing his par putt, and Bo under the basket. We'll give Bo the lead back. And I don't want Ben's t-shirt to deceive you. It was chilly out here. It was starting to rain again, as we see the rain jacket on for the rest of these guys. Conditions certainly an issue, perhaps with these putting strokes. As we move over to another par 5, hole 33, 526 feet. Flat most of the way, then as we bend to the left, it goes much more uphill. Got to get about to that big tree and around it to this elevated basket out in the wind with an OB road to the right. And a bit turned over, started to flex back. So not quite in position, but in the fairway, right side. Bo with a couple tree kicks, keeping him on the edge of the fairway, but pretty short. And early release for Nick, like I was saying, with the rain, starting grip issues may be coming into play for these last couple holes. And a big grip lock and a bad kick to the left for Ben. So probably just a couple pitch outs for these guys. Just trying to get back on the fairway. And right side, but made some progress moving forward. Tough shot. Trying to go up and over a bush while throwing a forehand and not turn your wrist over is certainly a difficult thing to do. And Ben actually so far into the rough, he has a look to kind of pitch up to the corner, up and over everything, and he does so. Nick narrowly missing that big tree, and actually a great shot. Getting there in two is probably something that most players wouldn't mind having if they could do it every time. So from out of position to a pretty good shot. And Joe trying to go with a big turnover. Either fade it out or kick something. But he's in the rough on the left side now. Bo going with a big forehand turnover. And beautiful, huge up to the corner just about. He'll have a pretty easy pitch up on his next throw. And this is Ben's third shot. Oh, catches a tree. If he had gotten a clean shot on that, he probably would have had a pretty easy up and down. Maybe even a long look for a birdie. But now being in the rough again is going to be a bit more difficult. And rolls just past that corner. Joe is going to have a putt at the basket. And Nick with the thumber almost hits the base of the basket and sits. Great shot for Nick. And we see Ben has nothing but a pitch out from there, unfortunately, but now has a gap to hit. Slows down enough, and I'd call it a tap-in distance, but elevated basket in that wind, you never know what could happen. And up to Bo's drive. Close enough that he can just kind of lay it up to the base. Oh, just a bit low. Maybe expected a wind lift, but you see the flag isn't quite blowing, and now just a few seconds later would have been maybe the headwind that he needed. So not only windy, but gusty, making it even that much more difficult. I don't want to overlook that was a great end of that hole for Nick after being out of position. Save his par. And Bo tapping in will give his lead, or keep his score at 7, making the lead 2 strokes over Ben at the moment, with only 3 holes to go. Starting off with hole 34, par 3, 326 feet. Pretty much a dead straight shot with slight finish to the left, but short left is this out of bounds, as you can see marked by the orange flags. So you really have to commit to this shot if you want to park it. Otherwise, throw something short or maybe even a moving left to right shot to play it safe. It looks like Joe is going to be in the out of bounds, and he is. Oh, likely trying to just stay out of bounds, and yep, getting that turnover going to the right side, knowing he's throwing into these open fields, and pretty great distance of that shot. Does start to go downhill towards the end. Maybe almost pin high, but super safe to that right side. knowing he has a 2-stroke lead with 3 to go. And just fades out. Unfortunate out of bounds for Nick. And yeah, Ben a little bit short right. Wasn't quite sure where that went, but safe. Have this pitch up, just make sure not to let it leak left. Oh, and almost does, but luckily basket is close to out of bounds, so he'll just have that short pitch up. So Joe and Ben on the far side, trying to maybe give it a run to save the par. Not able to do it, so they'll both be likely taking bogeys. And Bo smartly laying it up, doesn't want to mess with that out of bounds behind. And a couple of pars for Bo and Ben. Everybody just tapping in their putts. So we move on to hole 35, par 3, 322 feet. Pretty much straight as you can throw it, with a couple of guardian trees right at the end, all probably within the circle. If you hit them and fall straight down, you'll probably still have a putt at it. Big wide left to right shot can get you there. Bo looks like he might have turned this over. This is not out of bounds, but certainly not where you want to be. Rough left side. Maybe just playing super safe. Not that there's really anything to worry about, but... And Ben also going very wide, but the forehand will bring it back in and up to those trees. So he'll have a long look for his birdie. Oh, Joe just turfing it from there. Finally gets an open hole, not having to worry about a gap, and just not able to get the right height on it. And this is looking a little bit better, swinging in for Nick and right up to those trees. So we're going to have a couple of putts for birdie. Mentioned in the front nine, we're giving away that Innova Air Force stamped disc on our Patreon. We also have a lot of other benefits being listed below if anybody's interested, or just supporting HyzerMedia. You can head over to patreon.com/HyzerMedia to check out all of those benefits. Just a bit low for Joe. He'll be tapping in an unfortunate bogey. Birdie putt for Ben. Really needed that moving forward going into the last hole, 2 strokes back. Would also like to mention that someone who we saw on other coverage from Tyler State Park, if you watched it already, from the Yetter, David Giambra, also played this tournament and is currently sitting tied with Ben. So, certainly something to pay attention to, and actually, he also birdied this hole, so he is 1 stroke between Ben and Bo. As we move over to this last hole, par 5, 650 feet, OB all over the place. You see all the orange flags and an island green marked by the curb. The curb is out of bounds. You have to be at least on the grass to be in bounds. Tee shot, probably the easiest. Just got to keep it in the fairway as Bo turns this way over. And he's going to be in the rough on the right side. The out of bounds on the right side doesn't start until you get up to the corner. But obviously not a place you want to be. Ben going wide over the out of bounds, and looked like that might have not come back in, but luckily was able to and actually wound up in a pretty good spot. And turned over as well. Might have been more of a headwind these guys were feeling from the tee. Maybe blocked by this hillside. Yeah, it has to have been. All three of these guys going way right. Fortunate to get around it and clean for Joe, but Bo and Nick both in the rough on that right side. Bo just pitching out. Not sure if he knows the scores. I'm sure he does. But again, like I mentioned, with David only having a one-stroke deficit behind him, needs to par this, at least. And great shot for Joe. Up into that tight landing zone, not easy to do. This hole being pretty difficult because from a good position, like we see Ben, and you don't really want to go too far. Oh, and he gets a great rollout from being out of bounds. But on that left side, you need to clear the out of bounds, as we see Nick also trying to do, and barely stays in bounds. We'll see what Bo decides to do here, and just goes straight. Not too much distance. But what I was saying is you can try to clear this out of bounds on the left side, but you can't go too far, as there is more out of bounds before you get to the green. So a max distance shot may just not be the play from there. Definitely would be from here if you're trying to. Needs the skip. Oh, and leaning on the curb. So unfortunate for Joe. Easily could have just skipped up a little bit, been in bounds for his birdie putt to really finish out this round strong. Bo does get up and down on the island. You can see Nick was in bounds, taking his meter. Up and over the road. Nice, almost in the bullseye from there. And Ben, this will be his third shot after the fortunate roll out of bounds. Just wants to put this pretty close. And he is on the green. Oh, and a great putt for par to save that last hole. Way to finish off the round for Joe. Obviously not the round he was expecting to have, but had a lot of great putts, a couple of birdies, highlighting the round. Oh, just slipping out left side. Oh, and Ben as well. This basket giving these guys, maybe with this weather coming, they just want to get out there, need to take their little bit more time. But Bo Lee, with the par, will secure the victory as the rest of these guys just tap in, finishing out this hole. Bo with the lead coming into the round. Lost it for a little bit after really just one bad hole. Played very good golf. Besides that, a couple of birdies in this very unfriendly conditions. Not great for scoring, but congratulations to Bo Lee, 21st Great Eastern Amateur Cup winner. And as we can see, the second round scored a little bit better. Hot round by David Giamber. Shot one down, but not able to catch Bo. One stroke back. Ben finishing up in third. And all these guys playing pretty well in the conditions. Thank you to our supporting sponsors for helping this tournament happen. And thank you to you for watching. That has been the Great Eastern Amateurs Cup. I am Dave Oster for HyzerMedia. We'll be filming a lot more coverage, a couple more tournaments, this year and some off-season stuff coming up. So make sure you hit that subscribe button to catch that. And until then, we'll see you next hole.